Just a few weeks after I released the 13 Typal video, the new Doctor Who cards were released. I should have known to wait, being a big Doctor Who fan myself, because there are officially 13 Doctors in the TV show, at least the ones that are numbered. So there are clearly some new 13 cards that are being shown off in this new set, and I'll analyze those here, see if there's any way we can make them work in the deck that already exists. There are 10 new cards, 3 of which have 13 in either their name or their rules text, and then 7 of them that have a quote from the 13th Doctor, and they're all reprints except for one. And one of those reprints I already had in the deck, so let's get started with the first 3 new cards. The 13th Doctor is a cool build-around card, but unfortunately just doesn't really have a lot of support in the deck already. As we've mentioned previously, the deck doesn't do so well with having a lot of creatures on the board, much less so having counters on those creatures, nor does it have any support basically at all for casting something from anywhere other than your hand. There are a couple of cards that exile things, but not much. It feels like this is going to be a dud in the deck, and it would require some serious build around that we don't have the luxury of space in the deck to afford. Next is the Day of the Doctor. There's a lot of text on here, and it's honestly a pretty cool card in other decks. There are a couple of legendary spells in the deck that we might want to cast. However, the usefulness of those cards vary quite a lot, and other than Emrakul, which is going to be hard to cast from exile, there aren't a lot of worthwhile cards to hunt for. The last step just simply exiles all of our creatures unless we have the 13th Doctor out, or maybe if we decide to include a Maskwood Nexus again, which I've excluded in the past as not being worth it, but let's talk about that again with the next card. I'll lump this card in the potential board wipe category if we need it, and getting some legendary cards will probably be nice, but this is a pretty hard sell for me. Gallifrey Stands probably does nothing when it enters, and the deck certainly doesn't have room for us to put 13 or more Doctors into it. I think this is cool though, because as we mentioned before, it works really well with Maskwood Nexus, and it just means that we have to have 13 creatures out to win, and it helps us cheat in those creatures as well. I think if we're going to include this card and the Day of the Doctor, Maskwood Nexus turns from a nice to have for cards like Glasscast Heart to an essential part of the strategy to win. And I'm happy to say that this could probably work as a good alternate win con. Alright, with the other 7 cards, all of these have 13 somewhere in their flavor text. Let's talk first about the reprints. So there are a few ramp pieces that fit really well into a 5-color deck: Growth Spiral, Farseek, and Talisman of Curiosity. These are fine, they fit well enough, although we're sacrificing some better 5-color support to put them in. But fortunately for us, Farseek was already in the deck, so that's not even a trade that we have to make. On the subject of ramp, we have an excellent card with Carpet of Flowers. This doesn't help us get a variety of colors, but it can help us get a color that we might be missing. It's a great reprint, and I think it works really well in the deck. We have Cursed Mirror, which is a fine mana rock. It doesn't really synergize terribly well with the rest of the deck, but we'll take it. And we also have a Thriving Moor, which is a worse rainbow land that lets us choose one other color other than black. Again, we'll take that because it works semi-decently for a rainbow deck, and we can just replace a swamp with that. The last card is another new card with Decaying Time Loop. This actually solves a little bit of a problem that the deck already had with adding more card advantage. Yes, we'll probably have to throw out a tutor for this, but it does seem to help us in some way, and we can probably cast that multiple times with the retrace ability. I've put all of these cards into a new version of the deck, linked below. Not going to lie, throwing out cards to make these 10 cards fit into the deck really hurts it, and I'm curious to see how that affects how it plays. And honestly, I'm wondering if we need to make certain stipulations, like not including the ones that have flavor text for the 13s, to make this playable again. But let's see, maybe we'll do some playtesting. Anyways, as always, thank you for watching, and tune in for some more Doctor Who content very soon.